Welcome to College Football Addiction. Massive game in the ACC on Saturday at noon when Miami took down Louisville in a wildly fun game. You could be the biggest Miami fan or the biggest Miami hater, and you cannot argue that their games are not some of the most entertaining games on TV right now. Whether it's a big blown lead that they're having a big comeback in the end to win it, like they had against Virginia Tech or Cal, or whether it's just an absolute thriller like they had against Louisville, their games are incredibly fun to watch. And it all starts at the top. I'm going to talk about that here on College Football Addiction, but I also want to tell you, I am not a Miami fan, if you can tell by the stuff in the background. But I nailed this game when I spoke with Manny Navarro. I will play a clip of that in a moment. So just letting you know, even the biggest haters can tell what's going on with Miami. It starts at the top. Cam Ward took a huge step, in my opinion, toward getting closer to a potential Heisman trophy. Now, some of that was because Boise State was off, and another part of that was because Travis Hunter only played in the first half and was somewhat limited due to injury. I think it was smart that Colorado pulled him precautionarily. Number one, they were up by 1 billion points on the road at Arizona, who couldn't get anything going. And two, you need him down the stretch. The game was, I don't say it was over, but I think you kind of had a good idea of the way that was going to go. Cam Ward probably took a step towards potentially winning the Heisman. I think that minus a drastic collapse, he will be in New York City for the Heisman ceremony. Whether he wins that or not, to me, is still kind of TBD. We'll see what the Boise kid can do, what Colorado's Hunter can do. We'll see if anybody else kind of steps up. As of right now, to me, that kind of feels like a three-man race. Maybe Gabriel with an outside shot if they keep winning games. If they were to beat Ohio State again, and he was to kind of have a Heisman moment in that game, you'd feel pretty good about his chances, I guess. But, Cam Ward is as advertised, maybe better. He's one of the most entertaining players in college football. It's not close. He does things that make you shake your head, whether they're dumb and they work out, whether they're dumb and they turn into turnovers, whether they are just spectacular plays. He is must-see TV, right? And, a kid who did it the right way. Incarnate World, out to Oregon State, now here at Miami, kid works his butt off, and, credit to him. He also, this is not a shot, I think Miami fans will agree with this, he covers up a lot of mistakes. He covers up a lot. The way that, he can't be tackled in the backfield, he's really, really good at evading pressure and evading sacks, and he's always so calm, cool, and collected, whether he's being hit, whether he's being tackled, whether he's being horse-collared, it doesn't matter. Dude is so cool under pressure, and he covers up a lot of weaknesses, whether it's a left tackle that's out of a game, whether it's a bad route or a missed protection or a missed assignment. He doesn't ever get rattled, and that's been impressive so far. I think that Miami obviously has really good weapons. They have a really good offensive line. They have good running backs. I thought Fletcher and I thought Martinez both ran really well. Fletcher's probably running back one right now, based on watching this game against Louisville. Their defense, to me, massive question mark still. I think Louisville certainly came out and played, hair on fire, trying to do everything they possibly could. You had fake punts. You had a kick return touchdown. Louisville pulled out all the stops, and they had to because Miami is a much better team than them. And you were at home, and so you could kind of use some of that energy. You could kind of use some of that confidence, but it still wasn't enough. In fact, I don't even think it was like close to being enough. Miami always had the lead, and then they'd extend the lead or get the lead back when it would get tied up or whatever. It never really felt to me like Louisville had a real chance of winning this game. They were always a play or two away. Even when they tied it up, you'd think like, well, they need a stop or two here. I never felt like this was Louisville's game at any point. There was always too much time for Ward and Miami to figure things out. But the defense is a question mark. I think Miami fans would agree with that. I think Tyler Shuck looked really good most of the day. He was able to find guys wide open in that secondary. I don't think the defensive line got nearly enough pressure. I do think that they were good for most of the day. The defensive line did certainly get pressure on him at times, but I think they needed a little bit more out of that group to kind of compensate for the secondary issues. Obviously, Barrow, Bain, great players. They're really good. That defensive line is great. Maybe the best in the ACC. It's them or Clemson, right? It's not really close there. But they almost have to elevate just a little bit more to make up for some of the woes in the secondary. I think that's pretty fair. I don't think I'm hating too bad there. The secondary makes plays though at times. They're certainly not like just god awful. Like that was the concern coming into the year. Could the secondary be there? The good news for them is that through the rest of the year, they really shouldn't run into too much more trouble. Florida State playing backup quarterbacks, freshmen and guys just that don't look very good. They got the worst drop rate in the FBS. I think the week after that they play Duke. I think they will manhandle Duke. They would have to really play down to beat Duke. I know Duke's 6-1. I just don't think they're that good. Georgia Tech after that, I don't see that as a realistic loss for Miami. And then I know they got some games on the back half of the schedule, but I think that this sets up really, really well for Miami to continue to win a lot of games. 7-0 already. They probably can stub their toe at some point. Maybe not, though, if Clemson and SMU keep winning. We certainly have been breaking down the scenarios and the possibilities there. We'll continue to do that, so make sure you're subscribed. But I do think that through the rest of the year, the defense will be fine. It's when you get to the playoff, that's when the defense is going to have to elevate a little bit. The mistakes that Ward is going to have to make up for when you're playing much better competition, like the Georgias, like the Ohio States, like the possibly Tennessees, like teams like that, Oregon, obvious Texas. That's where the defense is going to have to get much better. The rest of this year, the rest of the regular season schedule, it would surprise me pretty big if Miami dropped a game anywhere. If they lose to Clemson in the ACC championship, I guess that wouldn't surprise me. But I can't see Miami having an issue the rest of the way. Special teams touchdown, got to clean that up. Guys are going to make plays at times. It's hard for me to, they give up a special teams touchdown. Yeah, I mean, Louisville's got good players too. Louisville has a lot of talent. There's a reason that this was a 3 or 4 point spread, 5 at kickoff maybe. Miami, again, on the right side of a controversial call, really close. They probably got it right. Again, kind of one where you're like, well, on the field, it was called this, and then you overturned it. They probably got it right there. To me, when you really slow that thing down in like super slow motion, I can't tell if his hand is coming forward pushing the ball or if he's actually throwing it. I think they probably got it right. His intention was certainly to throw it. It wasn't like he was still going backwards. It was razor thin to me. I thought it was closer than the catch against Virginia Tech. I thought it was closer than that. That one was pretty obvious to me. The ball hit the ground. Wasn't that hard to see. This one was close. It's almost a running joke with Miami now. Whether you think it was controversial or not, whether you think it was a fumble or a pass, I don't care. Whatever. They called it what it was, and Miami went out and capitalized with it. Who cares? It is funny that it is the running joke 3 weeks in a row. And, at the end of the day, Miami, ACC refs are just terrible. ACC refs are so bad. And so this is going to continue to happen. I'm not going to say every week comes down to a controversial call or anything like that. But, man, if that had gone the other way, what a bad time for that. Obviously, you need a little bit better protection around Ward. If he's not getting hit at that moment, probably doesn't fumble it or pass it like that. It doesn't come out weird or wonky, doesn't lose the ball. And, Louisville picking that up and running with it was heads-up play by them. Obviously, it ended up counting. It would have made for a fantastic last 5 minutes. As a college football fan and as a Florida State fan, certainly I wanted it to count because the game was phenomenal. I texted some Miami buddies afterwards, and I was like, this team is a lot of fun to watch, whether I like them or not. The team is fun to watch, and I would have loved to see a tie game with 5 minutes to go because that would have been fun. Why not? I love college football. I watched it all day. I got up at 8 a.m. and started prepping and then watched it for 12 hours, and now I'm doing this at about 1 a.m. So it would have been fun. Pretty smooth sailing for here. I don't see a lot of places that Miami could stumble. They've stumbled in the past. This one feels a little bit different. All right, do me a favor. If you're watching this, stick around for another 30 seconds. Here's what I told Manny Navarro of The Athletic right before the game. But I do think Miami being healthy, I don't, if there's any kind of concern about them playing down to competition, like, or even just like West Coast, weirdness with Cal or Virginia Tech, like things like that. Like, I don't think that they would play down or overlook this kind of opponent. I do think that this is one they'll get up for, and I actually think Miami wins by like 14 as well. Like I think they kind of maybe it's close and then they get it one late to kind of go away, but I don't see the game kind of ever being in doubt. I said Miami would win by 2 scores. Now they didn't win by 2 scores. Obviously they gave up the garbage time touchdown to Louisville where they were just playing prevent defense, just letting them use clock down there at the end. But I think the prediction was pretty spot on. You can call me a Florida State fan, a hater, this, that, and the other. I get it. I don't like Miami particularly. That's how rivalries work. You're not supposed to like your rival. I'm not going to sit here and try and play the journalist card of being unbiased. I think the analysis is somewhat unbiased. But I don't want my rivals to win. That's how rivalries work. I hope you don't want Florida State to win games. That's how it's supposed to go. But I think we nailed the prediction there. Miami, never really in doubt, essentially won by 2. It wasn't 2 scores. I get it. But let's not fake ourselves with a garbage time touchdown. Miami kind of put that thing away and was on their way to a 2-score win if Louisville doesn't get a garbage time touchdown. So if you enjoy the content at all, if you hate the content, if you like just talking ball, hit the subscribe button. Do me a favor. If you missed, which I'm sure you didn't because the views on that are really good, and the comments are all Miami fans giving me crap. But if you missed me rant about Florida State's loss on Friday night and you'd like to continue your joy, the joy you had from winning this game and probably your biggest test for the rest of the regular season, if you'd like to continue that joy by watching me be miserable after the Florida State loss, you can click the video on the screen right now.